Okay, so now that we understand SOHCAHTOA and we've gone through some basic math calculations, let's take this and do some application problems. So in the last video, instead of notes, we reviewed what SOHCAHTOA stood for. That sine is opposite of our hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Some vocab words we're going to need so that we can adequately draw pictures of the stuff we have is the following. Angle of elevation. The angle of elevation is always measured from the ground up. It is always inside the triangle. So this right here is my angle of elevation. It goes from the ground up this way, like that. The angle of depression. The angle of depression is always outside the triangle, and we're going to be able to find that in a second. So from the horizontal like this, when you depress something, you push it down. So this right here is the angle. Now, if you think about geometry just for a second, so if I go from the horizontal here, and this angle, the angle of depression right here is 35 degrees, you can do alternate interior angles like this, and this angle right here is congruent, 35 degrees. So, the angle of elevation equals the angle of depression. And so I always find it easier to label the angle inside the triangle so that I can do SOHCAHTOA. So we're going to go to the next page. Can you go back to this page? At the top up here, pretty please, right here. First and last name, full name, so that we can put your grades into the grade book, and for block, put your class period. And we're going to do some word problems. And what we're going to do is we're going to read it, draw a right triangle, and solve the problem. But before we do that, real quick, one quick reminder. Okay, so on the next page, we're going to read and we're going to follow the directions. The directions say, sorry, crooked. The directions say we want to round to the nearest hundredth, not tenth, hundredth, so 2 decimal places. So on number 1, a tower casts a shadow. Okay, no judging. My drawing's not great. So here's my tower. I like to label it. Here's my tower. And here's my shadow. It says that my shadow is 60 feet long. And that the angle of elevation is 65 degrees up to the sun. So the angle of elevation is right here. It's 65 degrees. What they want me to find is how tall is the tower. They want me to find x. So in this picture, with reference to the 65, this is the adjacent and the opposite. So that's tangent. So tangent of theta equals opposite over adjacent. Tangent of 65 degrees equals the opposite, which is the x that we're looking for, over the adjacent, which is 60 feet. You're going to multiply the 60 over. So 60 tan 65. Make sure that calculator's in degrees. Will get you your x value. Take a moment. Go ahead and type in the calculator. And when you type it in the calculator, it should come out to be 128.67 feet. Make sure you label it. Story problems have story answers. So number 3 says Matt is standing at the top of the cliff that is 350 feet from the lake. So here's a cliff. Here's Matt. He's chilling. This cliff here is 305 feet, and the lake is down here. The measurement of the angle of depression. So remember, angle of depression comes down this way. Don't judge. Here's my boat. Nice little boat. It says the angle of depression is 42 degrees. So if this is that angle, then that's the angle in here in my triangle, 42 degrees. And then it says how far is the boat from Matt? So we're looking for this thing right here. So with reference to my 42 degrees, this is the opposite and this is the hypotenuse. So not tan. So if I have opposite hypotenuse, it's going to be sine. So sine of theta equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. Sine of 42 degrees equals my opposite, which is 305, over my x, or my hypotenuse. I'm going to multiply the x over, so I get x times sine of 42 degrees equals 305. And I'm going to divide the sine of 42 degrees over. So I get x equals 305 divided by sine of 42 degrees. If you're using your phone, you're going to do 42 and then sine and remember that number, and then do 305 divided by that. If you're using the calculator from class, you can just type it in one swoop. And you should come out that x is equal to about 455.82 feet. Number 5 says, a ladder that is 30 feet long needs to reach 27 feet up a building. What should the angle off the vertical be? So, I need the ladder to reach up 27 feet. The ladder is 30 feet long. And what they want is read quick carefully. It says, what should the angle be off the vertical? Vertical means up and down, so I'm looking for this angle. The angle off this vertical right here. So if you look at my angle, I have theta. This is the hypotenuse, and this is the adjacent. The trig function I want to use is cosine of theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine of theta equals 27 over 30. Remember from our last video, if I want to get to that theta, I have to arc cosine both sides, and if I do it to one, you do it to the other. These undo each other. So you are now left with theta equals arc cosine of 27 over 30. And so when you type that in the calculator, theta comes out to be 25.84 degrees. Make sure you label it. Also, please make sure that you are taking the time to pause the video and type that into your calculator or the classroom calculator so that you can do this on the test, because there is a couple of these problems on your test next week. Number 7 says, a man is in a boat that is floating 170 feet from the base of a 200-foot cliff. So here's my cliff. There's a man that is 175 feet from the base of the cliff. He's floating in a little boat. And it says the cliff is 200 feet tall. Oops, not 2,000, 200. It says, what is the angle of depression between the cliff and the boat? So if this is my cliff out this way, the angle of depression down is right there, which, remember, is this angle right here. With reference to my theta, this is the adjacent. This is the opposite. So I'm going to have tangent equals the opposite over the adjacent. So tangent of theta equals 200, the opposite over 175, the adjacent. To get to that theta, I have to arc tan both sides. These cancel off. So we're left with theta equals arc tan of 200 over 175. And you're going to plug that in the calculator. Make sure you are in degrees so that it doesn't come out with a funny answer. You want a degree answer. Then you get 48.81 degrees. The next one says that the flagpole in front of CB East casts a shadow. So here's my flagpole. It casts a shadow that is 40 feet long. and that the angle of elevation is 31 degrees. And then it wants to know how tall is the flagpole, this X. So this is my adjacent and my opposite. I want to use tangent. So tangent of 31 degrees equals my opposite X over my adjacent, which is 40. I'm going to multiply the 40 over. To get X, and then you're going to type that in your calculator. X should come out to be, remember, don't forget your label, 24.03 feet. Okay, last one. A straight water slide is 175 feet above the ground. So this over here is my 175. And is 200 feet long. So when you slide down, it's 200 feet. What is the angle of depression? Remember, the angle of depression is the one right here. Alternate interior angles makes this the angle of depression. So this is my hypotenuse and my opposite. The trig function is sine. Sine of theta equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. So sine of theta equals 175 over 200. To get to theta, we have to arc sine, and if we do it to one side, we do it to the other side. These cancel off. Theta equals arc sine of 175 over 200. And you'll type that in the calculator. Theta should come out to be 61.05 degrees. So now you do the rest of these problems. You will do the evens. It's due on Monday. We'll grade it on Monday, and those are the things that you need to know for your test.